One of my very favorite pictures is that of General MacArthur as he's coming on shore. For any of you who have not seen it, you have to Google this, because he is a true example of leading from the front. And it is very clear, as he's coming onto the beach, exactly who the leader is. He's looking in front of him. Everybody else is kind of looking down, checking their footing, and he has his eye on the horizon, his eye on the prize. And it's, I think that's always very clear. It's very funny. I have a special and unique perspective on things, just as a female neurosurgeon and a female naval officer, that I think in many people's minds, just because of the books that we grew up with and just, the culture that we've grown up with, you don't necessarily think of the girl as the leader in the room or as the doctor or as the person in charge, if you will. And it's always very evident. There are definitely times where I go in as faculty to a patient's room, but I'm with my chief resident or a resident that was really involved in the surgery. And, if I don't lead, into the room and I kind of stand back, the automatic assumption is that resident is the leader or the attending, but if I walk in with purpose, it is always very clear, that I'm the leader. And so it's a very interesting, study and even how you carry yourself. I think the other person that I like to really paraphrase is General Colin Powell, because he said that it's not what you say, it's what your followers or your learners observe you do. That is what they're going to do. They're not going to do what you say. They're going to do what they see you do. And I think that that's a lesson that I always really hold very true as I'm trying to influence the people around me.
I think that's great. They do as you do. And that's really, I think, the important reason why people say, one of the biggest things that mistakes that you can make as a leader is telling people, do as I say, not as I do. That is a common phrase you'll hear, but I think that is a huge pitfall in leadership. And if you find yourself falling into that position, might be good to really step back and say, am I, maybe as a third or fourth year medical student, am I telling the first or second year medical student to do as I say and not as I do? That's probably a red flag that you should be on the lookout for.
So with who are the attendees with this? Is mostly medical students, correct? With that being said, one of the questions that I always like to ask, of myself and then of people around me, and certainly we've got, some really great faculty on this panel, is what is the best lesson in leadership that you learned as a medical student or as a young resident, and what would you wish that you knew? I think that's always a very helpful thing to hear, from people who have attained leadership status, if you will. And so I'm going to pose that question to my fellow panelists.
I'll be happy to say something, Dr. Wolf. That's a great question. There we go. All right. Well, thank you. That's a great question, Dr. Wolf. And I think, wow, there's so many things that in hindsight we would do over again for sure. I think, first off, I really, I've loved neurosurgery. I would do it. I'd say to all the students out there that if you love it, then it's the thing for you. I would do it again, and tomorrow I'd start my internship again. So, but I think what happens is, and Ryan alluded to this, and Dr. Wolf did too, and Richard as well, that we there's a pressure on us when we start our medical school or when we start our residency. There's a pressure of our preconceived notions of what a doctor should be, because I think for all good intentions we want to help people. That's why we're in this work, in this profession. And I think what I would suggest to medical students is just the fact that they're here today listening, and I applaud them for doing this, is really, think about how you are portraying yourself to that patient, that patient's family, and emphasize your empathy over authority, if you will. And I think that's what I would do differently during those phases of my career. I was so concerned about getting things right for people and portraying a certain and facade's not the right word, but portraying a certain way with patients, and I got that from my mentors. I had great mentors in medical school and in residency, but really to really be yourself, and as Richard alluded to with Abraham Lincoln, I love that quote. To really be real and authentic with patients, and not let this projection of what you think you should be get in the way.
Hey everyone, Ryan Rad here from neurosurgerytraining.org. If you like that video, subscribe and donate to keep our content available for medical students across the world.